about, no question about it, and one is just trying to get by and move to the end of the transfer window. There's no intent. There's no winner's intent that I can see right now. Yeah, we tried hard, but we didn't quite make it. It's not good enough. It's not. Do you know
what? The problem is, right, is that we're making out like all of the links that we've been linked with have been chalked off one by one. Right, so we're not getting Eze, we're not getting Gibbs White, we're not getting Paz, we're not getting Hincapi. What's left in the links that we've been linked with? El Canous or the guy from Monaco. But there's so many other players out there that still have yet to move clubs that are still like. I mean, Aston Villa are about to make a move on Marco Asensio from PSG. Isn't he exactly what we need?
100%. 100%. We mentioned it,
and Aston Villa can't buy a player right now because they're cop blocked by their PSR thing. So,
but does Frank want him, Sean? We don't know.
Well, okay, and that's the question. That's why I was asking the question. Like, if Frank doesn't want players and he sits there and looks, are you going to be okay with the idea that we don't buy any because Frank doesn't want what's being offered? But it's not like there's not fantastic players out there. I saw someone in the comment a minute ago saying, "What about Ademola Lookman?" I mean, we've all been talking about Lookman all summer.
Yeah.
For me, I think that the guy he's cheap.
Take him.
He's versatile. He's homegrown. He offers you the outlet. He offers you the output. But for whatever reason, Tottenham aren't linked with him. So like, I don't understand why. But then I'm not Thomas Frank, and I'd rather Thomas Frank get what he wants rather than the club listening to the whims of the fan base, because the fan base don't know what they want. I'll say it again. I said it on my show this morning, and maybe Savio heard me say it and think, Sean, you can check the tape. I never wanted Matisse Tell, and that's fair enough. If you were consistent, then fine. But I remember the general vibe. Don't know about that. I wouldn't go that far, mate. But the fan base when it came to Matisse Tell, let's not pretend like this didn't happen. When we were about to sign Matisse Tell, and suddenly he turned us down to go to Manchester United, the fan base were in uproar. Then when it turned out that he turned down Manchester United and came back to Tottenham, and it was a loan deal with the obligation pending Matisse Tell wanting to sign for us, everybody was like, oh, that's just like a loan deal because he's using us. He's not going to want to sign. He's going to use us as a springboard. And Manchester United fans, I remember Mark Goldbridge going, what? How have we let them go? How have we let him go to Tottenham? I remember Arsenal fan TV, AFTV going, what are we doing? We've let Matisse Tell go to Tottenham. We were all jubilant, and that deal was signed for the obligation back in January because Ange was asked on February the 1st, is there any chance that Matisse Tell won't be here next year? And he said, no, he's going to be a Tottenham player. And it's only now with the benefit of hindsight that the goalposts get moved and everyone says, oh, Matisse Tell shit. And maybe Tottenham felt the same way, but unfortunately the deal was already agreed in principle by then. So if the club are listening to the whims of the fan base on what they want, they bloody well shouldn't be, because the fan base don't know what they want and they move their argument every 5 minutes depending on whichever way the wind is blowing. So you'd hope that Thomas Frank knows what he wants. And if he doesn't want Lookman, fair enough. I can't understand why he wouldn't want him. But if he doesn't want him, then so be it, right? He's the guy that's got to pick the team, and he's the guy that's got to get us to, see some success this season. But I'd love Lookman to come in.
I would as well. But I think what Daniel would like is some shirt sales. So Lee Kang-in from PSG, anyone?
Lee Kang-in is a quality player. I'll take him all day long. Yeah.
Yes. You know what? I just want.
Hang on, continuity. Hang on, a bit of continuity with shirt sales. Another Korean, keep the population going, ticking over, and he's quite a tidy player, as we saw in the game against us with that very well taken goal. I'm just not sure what sort of price he would be. Would they let him go? Do you think?
Yeah, I think so.
I think they'd let him go.
I think Sean's point is bang on, and Perchy and I were just talking about it on my show there. Perchy said Asensio ticks every box. Experienced. Yeah. He's had Premier League experience now. He went to Villa last year and scored 8 in 21 for a midfielder or a wide. That's good. He can play as a playmaker or he can play out wide. This is where I want Spurs to say, okay, we couldn't get Gibbs White. Let's be creative. Who out there at their club is a really good player, but for whatever reason isn't getting as many minutes as they want? Can we go to Liverpool, get Harvey Elliott on a 6-month loan, for example, bolster the squad? I don't know.
Even the players that are getting minutes, but they're at clubs that are smaller. Like I'd take Unai from Everton. I think he's an absolute baller. I think that kid is absolutely. He's not kidding. He's 25. I think Iliman Ndiaye is brilliant. Like he's at Everton. Like surely Everton. I mean, like the Friedkin group are not. Like they're currently funding a hell of a lot of what's going on at Everton. They've just built their stadium. It's cost how much? 600 million or something. Like it's like surely that like they would sort of be. They'd find it difficult to turn down a monster bid for that guy and his quality. Like there's a couple of. Like, what about I know that Semenyo at Bournemouth has just signed a new contract, but. Definitely. It might cost you 90 million quid, but he's another outlet. He's a player that's just like Kudus in and of itself, right? Not a carbon copy, but similar. What about Justin Kluivert? Different type of player. There's players everywhere that are more than capable of improving us. Every single club in the Premier League has a player, maybe with the exception of Burnley and Leeds, that I would take a player from. Even Sunderland have bought players that I think I wouldn't mind having. And that's bonkers to say that. But to sit there and pretend like there's nothing out there and that only the links that we've been linked with are the ones that we're looking at, and because 9 out of 10 of them have been chalked off, to sit there and think that there's nowhere else we can go and there's nothing else we can do, I just think it's madness, personally.
We do often come in buy someone out of the blue that nobody's even mentioned. So that's a hope. I just want September the 1st to come round quickly with players, because this club ripped the shit out of you as a fan, every single transfer window. You're taken up, you're brought back down, it's an emotional roller coaster.
That's why you need to delete your Twitter account, Lubo. I deleted it. It's the best thing I ever did. Everyone should delete or suspend it for 3 months.
I don't get too much grief. To be honest, I don't get too much grief on Twitter. I sort of dip in and out. But
no, it's not the grief, it's what you're looking at.
But why are we not looking at these players? Why are we not making?
We might be. We don't know, right? We might be. We might be. Would you be surprised if you woke up on Wednesday morning and heard Lookman's coming for a medical? I wouldn't. I'd be like,
I wouldn't be surprised.
You weren't expecting that. There was no noise. There was no rumours about it. Just bang, like Kudus was. Just bang out of nowhere.
The thing is about Lookman is he offers us the situation. If Kudus goes down injured, he can play on the right hand side.
Yeah,
he said he can play on the left hand side. If he needs to play as a false nine, we lose both our strikers. He can play that position. Who can forget?
Homegrown as well, Johnny. I think.
Yeah, who can forget the hat trick he scored in the final against Bayer Leverkusen?
Yeah.
For me, he ticks all the boxes of what we need right now.
And the only question mark about him is that some fans, I see it all the time, and I talk about him all day long, every day on my videos, and there's half the fans that are in my comments say he's trash. Yeah, exactly. And I'm like, if you think he's trash because of his time in Atalanta, then I fundamentally disagree with you. If you have concerns about whether he's proven, he isn't, because he didn't do very well at Leicester, at Everton, or at Charlton when he was younger. But that was years ago. And so the question mark is, has he gone away, improved, strengthened, bulked up, grown, matured, experienced playing in big games, all those things, and then proven himself, and now has the wind in his sails of being a Europa League champion, scoring a hat-trick in the big game, the confidence that's in his chest? All of those things, to me, make the risk of whether or not he was just the right horse for the right course in Italian football versus whether or not he can come back and level up again here. I think you've seen more than enough to think it's worth a punt. There's plenty of players. I think we spoke about this last Thursday. There's plenty of players that when they were younger, they didn't make it in the Premier League. And then they went overseas and then they leveled up and then they come back and then they smashed it out of the park. Salah was one of them, right? De Bruyne was another one of them. There's loads and loads of players that when they started out in the Premier League, they weren't great. And then they went overseas, came back, and then they became the players that they are. So I'd love it. But for whatever reason, the club at the moment, at least, are not being linked with him too heavily.
Got a net spend this year of 44 million.
It's not through desire, though, is it, mate? Let's be honest. We've tried.
No, well, at the end of the day, I suppose, Sean, although the club, for me, have shown more ambition in this window in terms of the quality of players that they're going for, than they have done for some time, and I will give them that. It's about getting him over the line, isn't it?
Yeah, I know, but what my point is like it's not like we're not sitting there penny. Well, I mean, you could make the argument that maybe we are being weird in the way we approach Gibbs White, but the intention was to sign Gibbs White. We thought there was 60 million allocated there. It didn't happen. We tried to get Eze done. 60 million there allocated didn't happen. You know, there's probably 3 or 4 other players as well that we tried to pay 70 million quid according to Romano. We don't know whether he's full of shit or not anymore, but we apparently paid 70 million euros for, or tried to bid 70 million euros for another 21-year-old. And let's be honest, Nico Paz is not a 70 million euro player yet. And by the way, Savio is definitely not an 80 million euro player, 70 million pound player. It's madness numbers that we're willing to pay to get some of these done. So to sit there and think that Tottenham are penny pinching right now is not. If I'm honest, Tottenham are going from the sublime to the ridiculous in the amount of money that they're willing to pay for unproven talent.
And look at Strand Larson, £50 million bid rejected. He ain't worth 50 million.
Yeah, but the thing is haven't you noticed every football fan says this about every player? He's not worth this. He's not worth that. They're worth whatever the selling club want. Let's be brutally honest about this, guys. They're worth whatever the selling club want. If you go and try and take a player that is not on the transfer list, they will put whatever fee they want on top of the player. And unfortunately, I said this the other night on the show, Spurs are willing to take those risks and overpay. We paid 40 million for Matisse Tell, right? 40 million for Archie Gray, 60 million for Solanke. They're not worth, those players aren't worth anywhere near it. Archie Gray's a 10, 15 million pound footballer. Matisse Tell, for me, 15 million pound footballer. But we overpay at that end for those players, guys. So when you get to a Savio, you're going to pay, right? I'd rather we overpaid for that talent than at the other end, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
What do you mean the other end? Sorry. Oh, you think like the cheap kids?
Yeah.
Well, they should be cheap kids, but they're not. Like you think between Tell and Archie Gray, it's 80 million pounds, right?
Yeah.
I'd rather go, let's not have them. I'll give that 80 million euros, whatever, to a Savio, because what Savio's going to give you...
How do we not know that Savio won't turn out the same way?
Because Savio, compared to those two, is just different levels, different gravy of a footballer, different levels.
He's got one goal. He's got a 1.8%. I'm not poo-pooing your idea. I'm just playing devil's advocate here. So
sure. If we just look at that one goal, fine. But then we look at Kudus. All I heard from so many Spurs fans this window was, he didn't have a good year for West Ham. He only got 3 goals or whatever it was. Now we're all sitting there going, if Kudus gets down injured,
yeah, of course.
The thing is, I'd love a Savio.
Are we not guilty of? Are we not guilty of saying once we've made the trade, like Solanke, Richarlison, Tell, Gray, Lo Celso, all of these players, we overpaid Sissoko. We overpaid, and once we saw them in a Tottenham shirt and they didn't quite hit it, then it was we massively overpaid for these players. I'm saying right now we are massively overpaying for Savio if we get him. I don't care. I'm at the point I don't care. But the argument will be if he doesn't bang in 10 goals and up his output levels, the argument could easily be in a year's time we massively overpaid for that player. And you might not be saying it's that because you're consistent.
Sure, but Sean, this is very different. What you've just said there, this is very different. This is a guy that we've seen play for Brazil, Man City, and get in La Liga Team of the Year. This isn't a kid who's done nothing like Tell. This isn't Archie Gray who was playing in the Championship. This is a boy that's played 2 years in the 2 best leagues, arguably, in the world. One of those years absolutely smashed it. By the way,
what price is too much then? What price is too much?
At the moment, nothing. At the moment, nothing.
You pay £100 million for him.
Listen, I think if we're going to that level, we know Spurs aren't going to do it.
Sean, can I say,
if Daniel Levy drops 70 million quid, 65 million quid for Savio right now, I'm congratulating him. Fair play. You've gone and got a proper talented footballer who's in the Brazil team, right? Played for Man City.
But if Man City reject £70 million and 75 million and 80 million, at some point, Tottenham have to draw the line, right? At some point, have to draw the line. Is all I'm saying.
Of course. But this is what happens when you go this late in the window.
Hold on a minute. Last week, I tried to put forward the argument that it's going to be difficult to drop Johnson if he keeps scoring goals. right? I'm no fan of Johnson, but he keeps scoring goals. It's going to be hard to just drop him. And the argument both of you, Sava and Sean, put to me, and you brought up all the graphs and the stats. Look at his passing, look at his creativity, look at his dribbling, look at everything was through the charts, except for
Brennan Johnson.
No, for Savio.
For Savio, yeah.
Everything except for goal scoring was through the charts. And when you compared Savio to Brennan Johnson, it was like, well, Johnson scores goals, Savio does everything else.
Yeah.
So, and the argument that was put to me was, by having Savio, think how much he'll create for everyone else. So surely we've got to pay big for someone like that, because other than Kudus, no one else does that. Like nobody.
No, I hear you. By the way, I'm not sitting here saying I don't want Savio, and I'm certainly not in the position right now where I give a shit whether we pay 80 or 70. I'm just saying that from the club's perspective, and it's got just playing devil's advocate for the purpose of a conversation here. But like to chew over the fat, you have to sit there and think at some point you're going to overpay. I think you're already getting to that where you're talking about a club record signing for a 21-year-old. I don't necessarily disagree that he's done a lot to justify it. He's got a lot of hype about him, and he looks like a flashy player. My argument, though, is at some point you're overpaying for that, and at some point that's going to mean that you don't have enough money for someone else in the future. And that's not going to satisfy anyone, because right now we're in this kind of...
No, I agree with that.
The zeitgeist is all around the zeitgeist right now is all around just fucking get anyone. But what I would say for me is Savio is a certain type of player, like an Odebear, like a Tell, just a much more amped up version of them that are nimble, tricky, creative, take players on. But I still I said it on my stream earlier. I think my number one, if you gave me right now Savio for 75 million euros or Ademola Lookman for 60, I'm picking Lookman. And the reason why is because, again, to your point, Sava, I'm going to be consistent here. Like, I think that Kudus has been such a revelation, and he gives us such an outlet. But it's not just an outlet like a Richie outlet or like a typical old school number 9 who can win the ball back with his head. He takes the ball down on his chest, and then he turns and runs, and he's difficult to take the ball off, and he's got that drive, that ambition. If Kudus goes down, having Savio on the left and having Brennan Johnson on the right, you don't get to play that style of football. And that style of football has helped us in PSG, where we almost got the trophy. It very much helped us against Man City, and it was less necessary, but still used as a tactic in the Burnley game. So to me, it looks like this is a style of football that we're going to be engaging in it for more than just the odd game here and there. It's going to be like an ever-present part of our tactic. If Kudus goes down injured, that whole tactic disappears. If you have Ademola Lookman, then if they want to play them together, unbelievable amount of outlet, especially with Richarlison that's creating that chemistry. But if Kudus does go down, you have someone else to step in and do the same job. If Kudus goes down and you've got Savio, Richarlison, and Johnson, you don't have that same option. You have to tweak your entire style of play. So that's why I'm making the argument that I believe that Lookman is more of a priority than Savio, and that Savio, whilst he's a dream player for me, at some point we're going to spend too much money on him.
We're not in for Lookman, though. That's the problem.
That was going to be my set. We're not in for him. If we were in for him, I don't make Sean. Like Stel said, if we wake up tomorrow morning and we go, all right, Spurs have signed Lookman, I'm not going to complain. I'm not sitting here complaining.
If we were in for both, who would you rather?
Savio, because he's young but got the experience. There's a difference for me between being young with no experience and being young with experience, right? And I think what you get from him, I think that he's levels above Lookman in terms of quality-wise. Got to remember as well, it's only last year that he didn't get goals. In the previous seasons as a player, he scored a lot of goals. And in the previous seasons, he was playing on the left wing, not the right wing. Previous seasons as well, he was not playing for Man City, where Man City have everyone who put 10 men behind the ball against them. Very different for a winger playing in Man City's team, because they don't have a lot of grass to run into. I think in Spurs, a bit more of a transition. I think Savio would be frightening running at teams from the halfway line. Him on the left, Kudus on the right. But look, it's not my money. It's not my money. At the end of the day, I don't want to be a fan that worries about how much did we pay for him, and him if they're quality. What pisses me off is when you look at all of the forward players, how much between Brennan Johnson, Solanke, Richarlison, Odegaard, Tell, when you look how much money we spent across that 5 for such little quality, it's mad. We always overpay for those players, but we won't overpay for genuine quality. That's what frustrates the life out of me.
Just to throw in there, just for shits and giggles, Richarlison has actually been involved in every single goal we've scored this season, all 5 of them. And if you give Savio, put him out on that left-hand side with him or Solanke, I think we'll score a lot more goals. I think we'll be a threat for everybody, because between Kudus and Savio, they'll be ripping players inside, turning them inside and out.
Yep.
And if you actually get yourself a proper 10, the holes and gaps for the strikers and the midfielders to run into, it's going to create all sorts.
Do you know what? If we sign Savio and a proper 10 and we've got Kudus on the right, I'm going to be so pissed off we didn't do this when Kane was here, because we'd absolutely rinse it. Imagine Kane in that team as well. Well, actually, no, Lubo thinks Kane's coming back next year. So if we wait one more year, we'll have Kane back.
God, more Kane talk. Sorry, Sean, you wanted me to bring this up. When you've done this, Sean, when you've done this, can you just hand back to me? I've got to do some super chats. And before Sean goes, please, people, there are just under 1,700 of you in here, which is phenomenal, but 437 likes, which is definitely not phenomenal. Can we please at least get that to half and half? Can we get that to about, let's get that to 1,000, please. Sorry. Off you go.
Just super quick. Oh, wow. Newcastle just scored one back.
Their defence is shocking.
Liverpool are in trouble defensively, aren't they? Just wanted to say, okay, so this is the overlap, right, of Savio versus Lookman. You can see the output is on the bottom side here, right? So non-penalty goals, dribbles are basically indecipherable. Carrying, okay, Savino's a little bit better. Crosses, and I've looked on the Y Scout, crosses, successful crosses is also both of them very similar, but a slight edge. Key passes from Savio is slightly better than it is from Lookman. I would make the argument, I don't know if this makes any sense to you guys, but I would actually make the argument to get both of them.
Oh, for sure. If we're a proper football team, Sean, buy both.
You're in dreamland.
I think you could make the argument that Savio can play up the left and Lookman can play up the left, or as a replacement on the right. He can play across the front three. And Savio might even be able to play in the 10, by the way.
Well, I was going to say that, Sean. I'm sure Savio feels that he can play through the middle.
Yeah,
and then
100%.
He can play Lookman on the left-hand side and Savio through the middle. I think that would be frightening, to be honest with you.
If you could go and get both of them, for me, all of the problems go away. Sorry, Sab, you want to do your super chats, yeah?
No, I'll do super chats. Sean, can you imagine, like, can you guys imagine Bentancur and Paulinho as the two that don't really need to move from that post, right? From their posts. And then when they're winning the ball, they're giving it to either Savio, Lookman, or Kudus. Teams would shit themselves.
100%.
They would shit themselves. And that's the frustration. Surely both of those players should be doable for a Champions League football club that have got money. That's the frustration for me. So when we're saying, it's tough doing transfers and blah, blah, it is. But I just think, anyway, let me do the super.
It's frustration, Sava. Is it frustration or is it embarrassing? For me,
both.
It's embarrassing that we're a Champions League team. Normally what that meant was you're in the Champions League. That means you get first pick of the players because they want to play in the Champions League. And yet we seem to be waiting. Forest, all these other clubs seem to be doing the deals who aren't even in these competitions. Man United aren't even in Europe.
Johnny, I agree. For me, it is frustration. It's embarrassment. It's, I'm looking and saying there are certain players I get that are not going to come. And I think I saw on Sean's show this morning when he's talking about the kind of football food chain. I think, Sean, I completely agree with you. For example, if Spurs and Arsenal are both going for Hincapie, I fully get it. I fully get why he's going to Arsenal. And I know Spurs fans don't want to hear that, but I get it. They're a better run club than us at the moment. They're further along down the line. They challenged for the league for the last 3 years in a row. This is give or take, you know what I mean?
But Sava, this happens under every manager, right? When Ange's here, we need a six. When Conte and Mourinho are here, we're crying out for defenders. We need proper defenders. When Poch was here, we haven't got a squad in depth. The bench is awful. We're always a bit short. This is.
I agree. That's why it's embarrassing. Still, right now, for me, Tottenham Hotspur should be sitting there with 5 new starters minimum, or 5 senior pros that help us with the Premier League. We've got 2, and one of them was on loan. And the thing that pisses me off still about him being on loan, I love Paulinho. You all know, Sean, we did a show months ago